Okay, John. Single 7. Here, I'm making a video for you, buddy. Let me try to give you an idea how I kind of create, that sort of a guy. It's really nothing too overly high tech. Basically, say I take one of these regular heads. Here's another version I have, Dastardly Dan, and I just paint it flat with a primer, and that way, it kind of gives me a base to work with. But you start applying your acrylic color on top of it. And that's what I did with this one right here. I painted the face initially, and then I used a liquid mask material and painted it over the face, and then with an X-Acto I trimmed around the perimeter, and then it allowed me to shoot the rest of the helmet with just rattle can spray paint, and hit it with a couple coats of clear coat. The only issue is that when I took the mask off, the liquid mask, it stuck to a few of these places where I'd painted the face initially. So consequently, I've got some voids in the paint. So I'll just have to go over that and fix it. And that's not too terribly hard to do. I guess one thing I will stress with these new heads, or just any type of resin, I'm assuming, is that you're going to want to wash it pretty good. Just regular dish soap's fine. Anything, dish soap, water, just scrub it down, dry it off really well. Because once this stuff comes out of the molds, it's going to have a little bit of mold residue. It's kind of an inherent quality of the resin itself. It's got an actual kind of mold release built into it to some degree. So, it acts as a barrier when you do go to apply paint, where your paint's not really going to adhere as well as it could or should had you washed it off properly. And I probably didn't prepare some of these as well as I should have. That's why I've got these problems that I need to correct now. So here's one thing you can do. Like with this one, I'm just going to take a toothbrush. Not that you're ever going to need to do this, but just like I said, make sure you wash your heads thoroughly. I'm just going to scrub this one so I can kind of get any loose paint, which there doesn't happen to be too much because a lot of it, stuck pretty well. And then I take this is just plain old acrylic paint, ceramic coat, and for like a base color, I'm using burnt sienna. And I'm not going to do anything overly fancy with this first color of paint. I'm literally just going to color it up, just fill it right back in. Not too overly heavy. I mean, I want to get a good solid coat, but I'm not going to be too worried about. And this is going to be like my foundation color. Kind of like the deepest color I want to use for my shadows that are, once I go into a dry brush technique. And the reason I like using this acrylic paint, and I know to me, to my, however, person pronounces it, has far superior paint for this sort of thing, modeling types of things of that nature. But this is stuff I happen to have. I have lots of it, so I don't mind using it. And it's still a plastic paint, basically pigment suspended in a polymer. And so it's kind of like a plastic paint is what acrylic really is. It's pliable, durable, like latex to some degree. But as you can see, I'm just doing a flat color. I'm just repainting this face. I know it's gonna need to be done. And necessary evil of this project, so I can repair the damage that was done. It looks shiny right now, but it will dry completely flat. I'm assuming you probably could buy acrylic paint that does have a satin finish or a gloss finish, but I'm going for a skin tone, and that's not really what I'm after. That's usually an effect that I achieve after I paint the faces, and that is just after I say I've painted a skin tone. On this original one that I'd done for my father-in-law, it was flat paint, and then I just used a can of satin Krylon, or not satin, I'm sorry, matte finish Krylon, just acrylic fixative or acrylic top coat, and it's not shiny. It's not quite satin, but it gives a little bit of that oily feel that skin naturally has. It's not going to be completely flat, because skin isn't usually completely flat. It'll either have a dewy quality or a slightly oily quality, but it's enough to keep it delineated surface-wise from the helmet itself. The helmet is much glossier. This kind of trim, the rubber trim around the helmet, I've used just plain flat black paint. So again, you get another contrast in flat, what is intended to be like a rubber housing, plus your shiny off of your helmet, and then the matte off of your skin tone. And then with, say, like the eye, for example, I used just plain old white paint, and then painted the eyeball in there very carefully. Took a small micron, I think a .001, just technical pen, did the pupil with that, and then after that kind of dried or set up, I used clear fingernail polish, and I just kind of dabbed that on top of the eye to create a glossy finish, and also give it just a touch of that film that we would naturally see on our own eyes. And then say like with the facial hair, again, you're just going to want to keep flat paint on that. I didn't really want to use anything shiny or satiny, but once I clear coated it, it did kind of get a little satiny, because again, you want your hair to be a flat type of texture. And it's something I'm learning. I can't really say as I'm a master at this technique at all, but it is something I enjoy doing. The teeth, nothing fancy. Just took the brush, went in there with some white paint. Could probably use more of a gray blue, and then use like I said, probably the fingernail polish, a clear polish, to give them just kind of that wet look. And again, that was the effect I was trying to achieve with the eyes, is a wet appearance, like eyes naturally are. Okay, now back to this guy here. He's kind of drying. I'll give it a little bit longer, but I've got another one that is kind of mid-process that I'll grab really quick. Bear with me. Here's another one that I had to redo. Face needed to be flattened out again. So all I'm going to do is take my paintbrush, and I use this other color. It's just a hobby paint, acrylic. This one is a medium flesh tone. Nothing too particularly exotic. I just happen to have it. I don't really even know where I acquired it, but it'll do the job. And what I will do is dab my brush in there, and then I'll take my brush and I'll literally scrub the surface of a paper towel to where I lose a lot of that pigment, to where it's just kind of I'm basically dry brushing, and I'm almost scrubbing this tone into the face. And I'm just going to kind of scrub it on the high spots of the face to kind of build up a tone. And you'll have to, this will take a lot of repeated attempts. You're going to have to, because you're not going to have a lot of paint on your brush, go through, brush, build up your highlights, just kind of create a little bit of an evenness. Again, I started with a dark brown as kind of my base, and then I'm just gonna keep doing this, until I keep building up more and more color. Again, you kind of want to try, scrub your brush after you've added some paint to it. Scrub it on your paper towel, and just get a little bit of pigment. So there's almost so little pigment that you almost feel, like I said, you have to scrub the existing pigment there is onto your head or whatever model it is you happen to be painting. I don't know if you can kind of see. Sorry about my camera quality here. Can't particularly say I'm the best at this yet, filming. But you can see in the recesses the dark color still remains. It's kind of got this ghosty whitish tone where I've applied this medium flesh tone on top of the burnt sienna. And what I will do now, I will take, basically, here's a good example. I'll take like a blue color, like a denim blue or a lighter blue or even a purple, and this is my own preference. And again, I'll apply it to the paintbrush, dry, scrub it on the paper towel so there's very little pigment left over, and then I brush it into the eye sockets, just kind of a little bit heavy, and I'll brush it on to, say, the jawline and the chin, and what it'll do is it'll kind of give me a touch of a gray tone to the eye sockets and also along the jawline and the chin, hence you get your 5 o'clock shadow. And you can see it just kind of gives you just a tinge of that. That way the face on, because human skin is just not that uniform. Nobody's really is. And then a step after that, I would take, say, a red or like a reddish color, and then just again apply red to the paintbrush, scrub it onto the paper towel or whatever I'm using to get most of the pigment out, and then I would take that red and put it on the tips of, like, say, rub it on the nose and on the tops of the cheekbones, places that I would assume, say, if this were an actual human being driving, they would get a lot of sun exposure. Typically, like when you're driving outside, where do you usually get a sunburn? On your nose and on your cheekbones. But overall, that kind of creates just the overall effect that I'm after, just kind of roughly, and then I can go in and do the detailed stuff, as in I'll just paint a flat color for the mustache, whatever I happen to choose. I've got a bunch of these heads to paint right now, so I may do like an old graying beard on this one. So I'll do a flat dark color as my foundation color for the mustache. I'll go black or something fairly close to a black, and then use the dry brush technique again. I'll apply, say, like a gray or a white, scrub the majority of the paint out of the brush, and then kind of lightly dust the surface of this mustache so all the dark recesses will stay black, and all the highlights or all the high spots will take on that pigment, and it'll give it that three-dimensional effect, or add to that three-dimensional effect. And again, to reiterate on the eyes, it's just a matter of taking, say, like white paint or a bluish gray, kind of a lighter gray, because nobody's eyes are truly white unless you're like a vegetarian, I've noticed, and paint the eyes that way. Do the pupils, use like a small technical pen if you want to draw those in, and then the clear fingernail polish to create the wet look. And that's basically my technique, in a nutshell. They're kind of time consuming, as I'm not that proficient at the method yet. I'm kind of just going with other things that I've learned on the internet, and there's some really, really talented people out there. So I could say if I've helped you in any way, fantastic. And if you're looking for more information, I would check YouTube for other people that would give you ideas or hints or tips or tricks on dry brushing, because that's basically the technique I'm using for the skin tones and those sorts of things. The helmets, that's just a straight up spray paint. I just shoot it a flat color and then hit it with some clear coat or flat or a satin, whatever I'm wanting these helmets to look like. But anyway, John, I hope this helps you in some way, shape, or form. If not, feel free to email me or whatever. Just contact me via the Tamiya Club, to my club, and we'll continue from there. You take care. Bye bye.